Good evening and welcome to Veterinary Ramblings. My name is Mike Brampton.
And I'm Julian Ho.
Tell me, Julian, how on earth could we consider a conversation going from lions to dentistry?
I think we'd probably have to get Martin Brice in from South Africa, wouldn't we?
Let's get Martin Brice on.
Let's get him on.
Hi, I'm Mike Brampton.
And my name is Julian Ho.
Welcome to Veterinary Ramblings. This is Veterinary Ramblings calling Martin Brice. Can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear, Mike.
Excellent, thank you. Hello, Martin. How the devil are you? I'll raise a glass to that. Good to see you, fella.
Cheers.
Good to see you too.
How long have you been over here for, Martin?
I came over literally as I qualified. So I came over in 95 and got my first job here. And I went back after a year and did another couple of years in South Africa. So I haven't really practiced much as a vet in South Africa. Most of my practice is in the UK.
Right. I worked for a South African guy in Wimbledon. Really nice chap. The cases he used to see in South Africa and the cases we see here, very, very different, aren't they? Because most of the cases, it appears, in South Africa are parasitic.
Yeah, you're used to running. I mean, most of your consults will be a blood smear. You know, even if you were doing a vaccination, if you picked up a little fever or they just weren't quite right, or you got very good at guessing hematocrits or PCVs based just on your, quick. And yeah, that's about a 22. I think I better check that one. Yeah, you get very used to running lots of smears. So white fever in the summer, tick bite fever and parvo is pretty much all we used to deal with.
Interesting. Just in case anyone's listening in who doesn't have a medical background, hematocrit is a measure of the amount of red blood cells within the body as a proportion of the total volume. So a low hematocrit basically equates to anemia.
Unless of course you're Lance Armstrong, in which case then you'd stand a chance of having a high hematocrit, because Lance Armstrong and his buddies used to boost their red cell count by taking EPO, which is erythropoietin, and stimulates the production of red blood cells. So there we go.
Very naughty boy.
I must say, we do not condone this. Certainly for viewers or listeners, if you're having a little friendly tennis match with colleagues coming out of lockdown and you want to get the upper hand, please do not take erythropoietin. It's just wrong. Okay, guys, just say no, or say maybe if there's a lot of money riding on it. Yeah.
Of course, for our listeners, greyhounds have naturally high hematocrits.
Yeah, of course they do.
Do they actually have higher erythropoietin levels though?
No.
I don't know.
Come on, let's talk about this. I want to talk about this because obviously a lot of you've done it now, Martin, haven't you? A lot of greyhounds are raced. They are institutionalized, they are trained, and they are raced. Now, I have to say that I have a real disquiet about discussing dog racing. It's not. It's by no means my anywhere you'd catch me, and I don't agree with it at all. Okay, but greyhounds are raced, so we know that greyhounds, Salukis, and the sighthounds are fast across the ground.
Yes.
If you took an average greyhound that had never been raced, are you telling me that he would have higher than an Alsatian or a collie dog's hematocrit? Go on then, Julian.
Yes.
How much?
About 5% on average.
Higher.
And I had a long chat with Guillermo Couto about this. Just name dropping Nelson and Couto's medicine Bible. They're a constant bedtime companion of mine in my earlier years. But I met the great Guillermo Couto. He does a lot of work on greyhounds, and he was investigating the theory that they do have a higher erythropoietin inducible enzyme level, or hormone level rather, than most other dogs. But yeah, they all seem, even the ones that are never ever raced, will tend to have a higher hematocrit than
I think I can attest to that only very recently, because I don't know when the last time you saw a greyhound puppy in your clinic, but we actually have a greyhound puppy that's been bought as a greyhound puppy. And it recently came in to be neutered, and we did run a PCV on it, or a masquerade, and it was higher. And it's obviously never raced, so it does happen.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Interestingly enough, you mentioned greyhound puppies.
Yeah.
And last year we had someone...
Martin. we can see you.
We could see Martin there, just looking at, I don't know, he was reading a birthday card or something.
Oh no!
It's Martin's birthday.
Gosh, it's Martin's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Martin!
Happy birthday, Martin! And thank you. Oh wow! I mean, we've had some guests on our show over the time, haven't we, Julian?
We have, yeah.
Have done all sorts of things. Like one guest sent us bottles of whiskey and all sorts of stuff, but we've not had a guest as dedicated as Martin Brice for giving up his birthday evening to join us on Veterinary Ramblings.
Greater love for Veterinary Ramblings hath no man.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Not even you and me, huh?
No, we don't. No. It was my birthday. I'll take the day off, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm bloody recording on my birthday. so on that note, then perhaps we should say, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Martin. Happy birthday to you. That's a great,
and many more.
Yeah, this is great. Should we just raise a drink?
I'm gonna do that.
Happy birthday, Martin Brice. Thank you very much for joining.
Happy birthday, Martin. Last year, we had someone bring in a litter of greyhound pups that they had rather astonishingly found in a hedge. Every few years, someone does this. I found some greyhound or some lurcher puppies. No, they are fox cubs that you have got there. Regards the white ends to the tails. It's a fairly common thing.
Yeah, no, well, you just don't see greyhound puppies. I'm just kind of like a species that doesn't exist.
Yeah, they don't exist.
They don't. It's very, very rare. I've seen many hundreds and thousands of greyhounds, but one litter of greyhound puppies.
I did a stint in Birmingham, so did see my fair share of greyhounds.
There we go. Mike's stomping ground.
Why did you see your fair share of greyhounds in Birmingham? Where were you? ParaPara?
The main clinic was in Southern Coalfield, so we didn't see many greyhounds there.
Right.
But we had another clinic, Great Bar, and then another one in the sort of more in the Black Country across that side, and we used to see them there.
Well, that's because ParaPara was a greyhound and speedway track. That's where the Birmingham Brummies Speedway team used to ride. The motorcycle riders would ride their 500cc, no brakes motorbikes sideways around the oval track, and then 2 nights a week the covers would be pulled back off the grass, and the greyhounds would race around the outside. And then further across in the Black Country, heading towards Cradley Heath and Wolverhampton, were also speedway and dog tracks. Good British working men's sports, motorcycle racing and dog racing. And I can go for the motorbikes because I ride a motorbike myself, but not so much the dog racing, I'm afraid. But that's a personal thing.
Tell us about your balloon, because Martin has a rather nice balloon off to his side there, a little helium balloon. Is that a Star Wars thingammy?
It is a Star Wars balloon.
That's a Star Wars remote control BB-8 droid.
That's the one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one. Yeah.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but So I got a few Star Wars things.
Okay, so here's a starter for 10, which you've got the chance to watch Star Wars. You've never seen it before. Which order would you watch it in?
I would personally watch it in the order in which, what's it called? Sort of in the proper order, as in not the order that they were filmed in, but they were made in, in the order of chronological order. Thank you.
You'd watch it in chronological. What about you then, Julian?
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, I'd never seen them before, and my daughter wanted to watch them, and so I asked a friend of mine who is I don't know if it's Star Trek. They're Trekkies. What are they? The Star Wars Warsians? Anyway, I asked him what would be the order, and he said, just as you, Martin, watch them in filmological chronological order. So
right.
Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we did that. Seems to work okay. It's a fairly coherent story.
That's exactly how I watch them. I find it bizarre that 3 people who would probably... Star Wars was going on whilst we were growing up and was the hot movie to watch every other year as each new episode came out, and we've never seen them.
I deliberately didn't watch them because they were so popular. I thought, no, stop having a game of soldiers. I'm going to watch something unpopular. I'm going to watch The Big Lebowski or something like that.
Oh,
or Porky's.
Rebel. Huge rebel.
Huge, well, tiny rebel.
I don't know. Talking about watching things, tell me, Martin, have you ever come across Johnny Morris?
I don't recognise the name off the top of my head, no. Am I supposed to?
Well, you've missed out. Your childhood was obviously deprived. Because you've done some work at Bristol Zoo, haven't you? Bristol Zoological Garden.
I have. Work at Bristol Zoo, yes.
When we were growing up, and I say we, obviously Mike's much older than me. But when
you bastard, you always...
When we were growing up, there was a guy on television called Johnny Morris. He had absolutely no formal zoological training whatsoever. And he was asked to do some presenting, to stand in for somebody else one day, and he did and realised he was quite good at it. So he did this thing called animal magic for years, where he pretended to be a keeper at the Bristol Zoological Gardens, and he'd have fake conversations with all the animals, so he'd vocalise for them. And there's a whole generation of kids who've grown up listening to warthogs speak like this, and hippos who speak like that. They go, they put another loaf of bread in that box.
Martin, you do veterinary medicine at Bristol Zoo.
I do. Right. I look after their teeth.
When the animals talk to you at the zoo,
yes,
they do talk to you, don't they?
We heard them.
They do.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay.
Good.
I was panicking for a moment there in case Julian was suggesting that Johnny Morris made it all up. And
No, he didn't make it up. No, he facilitated their vocalization. That's what I meant.
Oh, I was worried then, because that was suddenly my whole childhood was going to collapse.
No, don't worry, Mike. Don't worry, Mike. Okay, Martin, be a little bit careful. He's fragile. So, good. Tell us about Bristol Zoo. How did you get involved in that?
I got involved a few years ago. The first animal that I looked at was the lion, called Khan, I think his name was. And Khan had a sore tooth. You know, like the lion with a sore paw, and they had a lion with a toothache. I suppose to zoo vets, they're kind of used to this when they're doing their work and things. But I remember getting there the first time, and you're told to stand here, don't move. We'll be back. And off the zoo vet goes, and you hear, you're like, okay, this is really happening. 10 minutes later, they come back and say, "Yep, he's ready for you." I'm like, okay. So yes, we tried to fix old Khan's tooth, and then from then, one of my assistants actually did probably the vast majority of the work at Bristol Zoo. But recently, they've moved off to Dublin, so I've been carrying on with the work since then. So it's always very interesting, and I have to learn very quickly about different formulas, dental formulas, and it's intriguing. It's absolutely intriguing. Yeah, it's really good fun.
So your first experience of zoological medicine, Martin, was with a lion?
Yeah. Old Khan had a sore tooth, and we did try and fix him. It was quite a nerve-wracking experience, having to listen to a lion roar right next to you. But
what, you did it consciously?
Yeah, no. Zoo vet disappeared into said enclosure, and luckily Zoo vet came out, and lion was suitably flat out on his side.
No, it's like an explosion, isn't it? Like an explosion when they roar. It's huge.
Still quite an experience. You put your hand in a lion's mouth and take some X-rays of its teeth.
What, with your hand in there as well? So, the Radiological Society aren't going to say anything about this, are they?
You kind of have to put your hand in and get that plate down nicely, and oh my goodness, I tell you.
Oh, before you take your hand out, right? Okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
So where did you put the pulse oximeter probe?
I can't remember on the lion, but we certainly have one going all the time at the moment. You'll be pleased to know.
I am very pleased to know. You might be intrigued to know that a lion in 1984 is the first recorded use of pulse oximetry in veterinary medicine.
Really? Was that you, Mike?
Yeah.
He asked, expecting the answer, yes.
which was at London Zoo and was also a dental procedure. And we were faced with, can we monitor the lion during its anaesthesia using a pulse oximeter? To which, of course, I went, yeah, no problem, we can do that. And, of course, lions don't have fingers, which is the normal place for humans to be monitored on, or toes. As such, they've got dirty, great big claws and paws. And the dentist, of course, wants to see what he's doing and doesn't want anybody mucking about around the mouth. So the normal position for a pulse oximeter probe in veterinary medicine is of course, the tongue across the lingual artery. So that's out. What we actually did was using the adage, a well-perfused capillary network with minimal pigmentation.
Sorry.
that is accessible. And okay, you can use the clinical term prepuse if you wish. I'll use the general biological term that other people who are not medically trained will recognise. We put it on the end of his willy.
So there's one big drawback.
What's that then, Julian?
I'm just talking about the preparation for the procedure. Sorry.
So what did Khan have done on his teeth then?
He had a periapical abscess, see a little abscess at the base of his tooth, his canine.
Very bad.
Oh, gosh.
So we did a root canal over a couple of weeks. We did some investigative work initially, and then we did a root canal. Got some other dental vets in as well, so we could all have a U and a R. Yeah, I think it went pretty well. It went very nicely. Unfortunately, Khan then succumbed to renal failure. So, yeah.
Was it the renal failure, you think, that could have triggered some of the dental problems?
Or the long-standing dental abscess triggered some chronic renal disease. So, yeah.
Wouldn't be anything to do with the anaesthetic, of course, would it?
Certainly not.
So tell me, Martin, have you read the book? Because you're obviously involved in doing these knockdowns on zoo animals now. Have you read the Wild Animal Capture Anaesthesia book?
I have not.
You have not. I've got it on the shelf here somewhere. I'm not going to go out and try and find it again. No, I didn't write it.
I thought you did. I thought you wrote. Did you not? Did you not? But you have one of the few licenses for dancing, don't you?
I have one of the few licenses for wild animal capture in the UK.
Yeah, it's astounding sometimes the things that you do, Mike.
It's amazing. These things sort of creep out of the woodwork.
Well,
yeah.
So I find myself probably one of the only certified wild capture operatives in the southeast of England. where I have to say, and you'll probably back me up on this, Julian, and probably you too, Martin, there aren't many hippos, rhinos, elephants, lions, tigers, or other wild animal species that I am licensed to capture.
Which just proves to show how effective the control measures have been.
Thank you.
Under a Conservative government.
Have you ever got involved in anything like that yourself, Martin, in South Africa or around?
No, I did it. I did a bit of work when I was doing my clinic rotas in Natal. We did a little bit of more just sort of monitoring, counting. We did sort of rabies injections in some of the townships in the area, where you kind of just drive through and you just pick up any old dogs and you jab them and go on and jab the next one. You just vaccinate as many dogs as you can. But I think my wildlife rotation was spent mostly driving around game reserves pretending to do work. I think it was 2 weeks of, not an awful lot of work.
Yeah. Sounds idyllic. Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, but it is certainly, it's big business, and I've got a number of friends that are, they're big into that, and have got now some very successful businesses, where you can pay and off you go as a vet. And it's something I think, now that my life is a little less busy, is something to think about, because you can go off on these game capture courses and do everything from starting to the helicopter ride to rounding them up, all sorts. It's pretty exciting stuff. It's amazing. And obviously you're always trying to help with the poaching and everything. So yeah, it's good. I am very South African, and we miss South Africa, but we're here now. So
is that a plan for you for the future?
Possibly. Yeah, I think I very much enjoy working in the UK. I think it's a fantastic place to be a vet. Having worked in a few places in the world, vets here are privileged, to work with the public here that are so intent on looking after their pets properly. In general, it's a remarkable place to work, I feel.
That's actually very interesting, isn't it, because that's the second time in 2 weeks we've heard those particular sentiments.
Yeah. Really?
That's very nice to actually hear from somebody that's come to these shores to practice your skills and use your qualifications to help our animals and our people. But that was reflected by the ex-president of the BVA recently.
It was very much so, and it's an interesting thing. I guess there'll be 3 potential contributors to that. There's the paying public. There's the freedom or lack of freedom, or the restrictions placed upon you as a vet, and there's the medicines and techniques and equipment available. Which of those, if any, would you say are the most relevant to your enjoyment of practice in England or in the UK, or none of those, something else?
Yeah. Well, I think it's all of those. There is a very, I don't know, there is a slightly inherent difference. It varies a lot from area to area. But one of the things that you do find in a lot of places in South Africa potentially is that the animals are there, the pets are there, they are there for a lot of security. They perform a slightly different role in the family. So the human pet bond, I think, is ever so slightly different, and I don't mean that in any sort of derogatory way or anything. That then integrates with money, insurance, availability of equipment, and those that all then links together to give you a profession that really, I think, is a remarkable profession, and I can't really explain it an awful lot more, but it's something to do with that human-pet bond that is very slightly different.
I think it's different in every country that we've spoken to, or the vets of which you've spoken to, isn't it? And as you say, there's no right or wrong to any of them. And I guess within that, growing up in South Africa as you did, and now knowing that there are differences in the way that people treat their animals or wanted their animals treated in England, what made you initially become a vet? What was the spark there?
The spark was I did enjoy working with animals, but I had this real quandary, I think, at some point when I was about 16 or 17, trying to decide, did I want to become a businessman and be an entrepreneur and do all sorts of anything. I just had an awful lot of ideas. but somehow there was this kind of thing that kept nagging at me that I wanted to be a vet, and I went to the vets and made sure that I got experience, and I thought I really enjoy this, and I struggled initially to try and get these two ideas to marry, but within a short period of time, I think a lot of vets in South Africa we certainly were all independent. There was no corporates, there was no nothing, and I could see that actually my two interests could quite easily gel together. And for me, it seemed like a natural fit. That I could be an ideas person, which helps you in your veterinary career. You have to think about things. So whether you're thinking about how to your next business idea or how to make something work, you just as easily can be thinking about how to use your veterinary knowledge to work out what's wrong with someone's pet. I think that's why I probably gravitated towards medicine far more than I do orthopedics, because certainly my wife would attest that I'm not very good with a drill. I don't mind teeth because it's much smaller. But I think bones have always been a little bit of an issue.
Martin, some of our listeners and a couple of our guests have actually been orthopedic surgeons who would say that they were medical.
Yeah. They take very poorly to the view that they're not medical if they don't if they hold a drill. But so you did your degree and then you came straight over to the UK. Had you planned when you were doing your degree to move over here, or was it a spur of the moment? Or
it was 95, so we had just gone through the release of Nelson Mandela. It was quite I think an uncertain future at that time in South Africa, and I had a British passport, so I felt that I wanted to register and give myself options if something was going to go wrong or anything. I have family in Wales, so
I'm terribly sorry for you. If there's anything we can do,
I think. Rugby, Wales, mind you, it's I don't think we should.
No, we shouldn't.
Where the England rugby team are playing at the moment, we probably shouldn't be saying too much about that particular thing. Yes.
What though, being South African and living in Wales, it's quite an interesting experience because they love us because they love rugby, don't they? And I actually watched the final of the South Africa All Black game in Bilth Wells, in mid Wales, on a Friday night or Saturday night, whatever that was, and the party in Bilth Wells that night was huge. It was the biggest party I'd ever seen. Rugby brings us all together. So rugby is
it does. It does. I went to a rugby match in Cardiff a few years back. There's a friend of mine lives in Ebervale, and so we had Ebervale play in Cardiff, and I went along as an Englishman to a rugby match in Wales, and there was another friend of mine from England. We went to see this Welsh friend of mine. We were chatting and joking away and making all sorts of ribald comments in the stands. And this lady in front of us turned around and said, "You're not clever and you're not funny." At which point my friend said, "Well, actually, between us, there's three of us. We actually have 5 degrees, and he's done some stand-up quite successfully. So I think you're wrong on both counts." She wasn't impressed, although she couldn't think of a word to say.
Is it worth taking a moment there to explain that this sort of banter, this to and fro, is really what makes rugby stand out from lots of sports? And if you'd said something like that at certain other sports, you would, in various degrees, have been knifed, mugged, shot, or ejected from the ground. But in rugby, with a couple of drinks on board, it's accepted as friendly, and you give as good as you get, don't you? It's a marvelous.
You do. Everything that's said is measured and laughed at or agreed with. If there's any disagreement, then it's okay. You get me a pint then, Sonny. But it's all fun. It's all fun.
Listen, Martin, you say you're quite derogatory about drills a moment ago, and yet you've qualified and you practice dentistry.
Yes, but you see them nice little drills with only little drill bits. I'm happy with those. I don't. It's all the other drills and things.
Whoa! Time out! We're giving it all this big macho rugby talk, and now you're saying you're not man enough to handle a big drill. What's going on?
I never said I played in the scrum.
Huh?
I never said I played in the scrum.
So what you particularly like about the dentistry is the fine detail work?
The fine detail work is very, very interesting. I think that I found a real little niche in how much subtle disease there is and how much we can do for our pets when we find little holes and little problems, and the amount of times that animals come back and feeling so much better, clients not even realizing when they came in that there was anything wrong. We do a lot of behavior work as well. Mm-hmm. And it's part of our behavior workup that we search for dental disease. We look hard for problems in the mouth.
Mouth pain, we've all had, I say we all have, most of us have had toothache at some stage in our life, and it's excruciating. Yeah. And yet you look at someone with toothache and they're in a bad mood, but there's nothing on the outside that suggests they have toothache. And so I think our clients are often surprised when we say your dog, your cat, your lion in your case, Martin, has toothache. Let's see if we can sort it out. And you're absolutely right. They come to you 2 or 3 days later and say, you really made a difference. I didn't notice there was a problem. To me, it's one of the most rewarding and at the same time the most frustrating parts of being a vet, because trying to convince the owner that actually they're going to have to invest quite a lot of money in sorting out their pet's mouth, because dentistry is expensive. The drugs are expensive. The time is expensive, and for an average, if there is such a thing as an average dental procedure, we could be looking at 1 to 3 hours for a full mouth workup. Clients are going to be worried at the cost, surprised at the cost, and sometimes angry. And yet, 2 or 3 days later, they say, "Gosh, that was amazing. There really was a problem. I hadn't noticed it."
Yeah, it's really a discipline where you have to have you have to believe in yourself, and you need to be extremely convincing. And I get to the point where I'm just brutally honest or brutal and say your dog's got a sore tooth, and this is exactly he will be feeling exactly as you would if you had a low-grade chronic dental pain. And he's eating and seems to be continuing as normal, but every time he eats, every time he chews, he moves his food to the other side. I can guarantee you that he is not using that tooth, because he's no different from you and me. It does take years of consulting to get the right balance. But I think that many times it gets proven over and over again.
I think you're right. And cats are perhaps even more of a problem, because cats are very secretive eaters anyway, and they'll come in for their annual checkup, and you'll open the mouth and have a look and touch a tooth, and the jaw judders. And they pull back, and they'll say to the owner, "Look, there's an exposed root here. There's real pain." But what we don't want to do is to make the owners feel guilty for it, because actually there's nothing that they would have noticed necessarily, because cats are secretive that way. So there is a balance, isn't there? Yeah, there is a real balance.
Yeah, very, very much a balance, but it's building that trust. and getting that trust. And I think that's I've been in Emerson's for 20 years, or 21 years or something. So I've been there, done it, seen their kids. I'm treating the kids that were coming in. I'm treating them with their pets now.
Wow, and that's wonderful, isn't it? Seeing generations of owners and generations of pets. And we've spoken with previous guests about the almost the wonderful gift that's bestowed upon us as vets of seeing a pet from birth to death, and perhaps helping to ease the latter part of that process.
Yes, no, well, I agree 100%. As I said it before, I'm in a very privileged position, and I appreciate everything that I've been given.
You do endodontic surgery as well as exodontic, and you don't just do extractions. You'll do fillings and root canals and things. Now, is that just on lions, or you do root canals on dogs and cats as well?
We do lots of root canals on dogs and cats. We do orthodontics, endodontics, exodontics. So the plethora of cockapoos and all the poodle crosses. We get our fair share of dental abnormalities now. So we're pretty busy fixing poodle cross mouths.
And so would that be putting, you say orthodontic, so putting braces on brachycephalics and other overshot jaws, undershot jaws?
Yeah, not so much on the brachycephalics, to be fair, more just the sort of deviated canines that are impacting into the palate or something like that. So, and putting in sort of braces and plates and things to move teeth around. Yeah. We also, but a lot of the times there's a lot of extraction sort of orthodontics, where we extract teeth to, especially deciduous teeth, baby teeth, to help ensure that the adult teeth comes through in the right place.
Yeah. Now, I spoke to someone the other day who was using 3D printing to produce braces for human teeth. Has that evolved yet into the animal field? Are you 3D printing braces?
There is certainly a very, very, very good veterinary dentist. They're using 3D plates that they're printing to repair jaws, fractured jaws in cats. So contour them nicely. So using the CT scanner, obviously, to build up the 3D image, and using that as a template in order to make 3D plates. Well, 3D, using printing to make up a plate. Not stainless steel plates, but I'm not entirely sure on all the...
There's some sort of composite, aren't they?
Yeah. So, you can get, I think there is the ability to print stainless steel plates or something, but it's just enormously, massively expensive or something.
Absolutely. But actually 3D printing generally has come down in price. I did a 3D printed fracture repair last year sometime, a skull fracture, and I sent it off for a CT scan, and they did a 3D CT scan of it, and then said to me, do you want us to produce a plate for you? And I said, yeah, fantastic. So they produced this plate that conformed fantastically and made it really easy to repair the fracture. And these things they're becoming affordable to the average GP vet, aren't they?
Oh no, it's incredible what can be done. And now, I mean, we're doing more and more. We're trying to source at the moment, but trying to source cone beam CT. This cone beam CT has much better definition than your traditional 16 slice CT. So,
yeah. And again, there's some amazing companies doing that.
So
Sorry, Mike.
Are you doing crown work? Are you sort of?
We do a little bit of crown work, but
Right.
not very much. But we'd like to move into a little bit more crown work. It's just getting the skill levels up and getting enough throughput to be able to get the crowns done. Traditionally, the crowns were done on the police dogs and things like that because they need, a reconstructed, decent crown, especially on the canine. And so, if you weren't doing any police work, then it kind of wasn't done an awful lot.
Is this so your police dogs could get a good grip on the burglars and the bad guys?
Exactly the case.
Right. Okay.
It's nice. So but what's becoming more and more evident, and certainly more of us are doing it, is fractured premolar 4, or the carnassial tooth, the big chewing tooth in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems of doing endodontics on that tooth is just its potential for refracture, or the composite not handling, day-to-day life in a dog. And
because you can't say to them, "Don't chew this too hard."
Yeah, and you can't tell them, well, this got you into this place the first time around, so don't do it again. So what I think that certainly a lot of us are trying to work towards is doing the root canal of that carnassial tooth and then having it back in and crowning it, so that we're getting double protection.
Do you still do TV work?
I did. After I had that little jaunt with you, I did 2 episodes of, oh God, I've forgotten his name now.
Do you know what? I love the idea that Martin can't remember the name of the TV show that he was on because it's just so, whatever. Yeah, I've been on TV a few times.
I was on a local TV show in my first job. I was called by the RSPCA to check some sheep out that were neglected, and it was a really cold day. It was pissing down, and I was called to check on these 2 old ewes that had clearly been neglected for years and years, and I had to catch them up and check the hooves. And catching 2 ewes that have never been caught for the last 10 years is quite tricky. Mm-hmm. However, I caught them each within a minute. The second one, I slipped momentarily while trying to catch it. And the only part of their filming they showed was we were going, whoop, 37 times.
Bastards,
utter bastards.
Have you remembered the name of the TV show, Martin?
Yes, it was vet.A. So it was a kids program where they teach children or kind of show them what happens in a veterinary surgery.
Mm.
The first one was about a cavalier with some dental problems, and they explained they did some quite detailed stuff, considering this was for 4 or 5 year olds, maybe 6 year olds, about anesthetics, and dental work and what they need to do to look after their pets' teeth and all sorts. So that was episode 1, and then I think I did episode 20 or so with my 2 daughters, and we had rats with breathing problems and fat rats. So we had to put the rats on a diet and exercise the rats. And then I also did a stint on high-rise syndrome in cats for BBC History. I didn't quite know why it was BBC History, but anyway, it was for BBC History. But never to be seen in this country. It's only to be seen in hotel rooms. It's kind of random BBC stuff that you only ever see when you're in a hotel room. So you might see me one day when we're allowed to travel again. In some hotel room.
So this TV show talking about these 4 to 5 year olds. So they told you the basics then, that be aware of spontaneous recovery using medetomidine and ketamine whilst anaesthetising wild animals to do dentistry work?
Yes, I think it was nearly as complicated as that.
Not quite, but nearly.
Nearly.
So listen, Martin, I'm really enjoying speaking to you here, and I'm learning so much. I'd like to ask you, on Veterinary Ramblings, we've got a challenge which we call 60-second CPD. Have you come across this at all?
Sorry, but
I have.
Martin is nodding with the same sort of nod that a convicted criminal gives. He's not looking happy about it.
Oh dear, I hope they'd talk so long they'd forget about the 60-second CPD. So Martin, the 66-second CPD challenge, are you up for it?
I'm up for it. I think so, yes.
Okay. So tell us, what would you like to do your 60-second CPD on?
Missing teeth.
Missing teeth. Okay.
Missing teeth.
You have 60 seconds to talk to us about missing teeth.
Well, I'd like to talk to you all about missing teeth in young dogs. So any vet that's newly qualified, or anyone that's out there doing spays and castrations, I want you to take the time, once you've tubed it and got it nice and stable on the anesthetic, to look in its mouth and look for some missing teeth. All we need to do is count and know what the numbers are supposed to be. But I want you specifically to look at the first premolar tooth on the lower jaw. So that would be 305 or 405. So the first premolar, is the first premolar there or not? I want you to take special attention if it's a boxer or a brachycephalic breed. And if that 305 and 405 is missing, hopefully, if you've got a handy x-ray machine, any type of x-ray machine, take a picture. Because if that tooth is embedded in the bone, very likely at some point a cyst will develop. And that if you find that missing tooth, if that tooth is sitting embedded in the bone and not visible, then send it to a vet and let's get it out. Send it to a dentist and let's get that tooth out.
I had to let that run, Martin, because I think as a very simple and straightforward piece of advice, Julian, would you agree? I think that's
absolutely,
piece of advice. So I let it run, even though you gave 60-second CPD in 93 seconds.
It was an inflationary 60-second CPD, and it was.
Do it again.
Great. It was great. No, it was fantastic.
It was good.
And it is so important. We've all seen cases, as practicing vets, we've all seen cases, particularly with boxers, that tend to have this gingival hyperplasia problem that then causes teeth to become sealed under the gums. And they get these chronic painful cysts, don't they? And the owners are in no way aware, nor necessarily should they be. It's up to the vets to point it out at a routine examination, a vaccination or 6-monthly health check. And that, owners, is why you go and see your vet, so that they can pick up things like this.
Those cysts completely eat away the bone, so that you can have a boxer with hardly any bone left in its lower jaw.
I saw a boxer present with a fractured mandible for precisely that reason. Yeah. Yeah, it had chewed a Kong or other chews are available. Not to this boxer, it was a Kong, and it chewed it, fractured its mandible, and completely, as you say, because it's 305 had formed a cyst that had eroded the underlying mandibular bone.
Not wishing to detract from the seriousness of the subject, but there was a famous Mike who was a boxer, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, he went to prison, I think, for something terrible. Mike Tyson.
I think he's managed to pay most of his solicitor fees through cameo performances.
5 minutes.
Actually, oddly enough, was asked to perform but turned down the Royal Shakespeare Company's Othello.
What? Mike Tyson was going to play Othello?
No, sorry, I've got that wrong. No, some other fellow was asked to play. I'm terribly sorry. I misread that. I do apologise. No, Mike Tyson was never asked to play Othello by the Royal Shakespeare Company. I do apologise. My mistake. My bad. That.
Yeah, he was asked to play Lear, wasn't he?
He was. Yes.
Oh dear! This evening has suddenly denigrated into ridiculous cheap jokes.
It is about that time, isn't it?
Is it? Well, okay. Speaking of jokes, then, Julian, if it's about that time, do you have a joke for us this evening?
I've got a joke. Now, it's
yeah. Sorry, Martin. Julian tells a joke. It's part of the contract.
I apologise.
Julian tells a joke.
I'm all ears if we're talking about Shakespeare.
It might be about lions or dentistry or something. What's your joke about, Julian?
So the man walks into a pub and he's got a lion with him, and he's got a giraffe with him, and he's got a zebra with him. And he says to the landlord, he said, "Can I have 1, 2, 3, 4, four large brandies, please?" And the landlord said, "You can't come in. You got a bloody leopard. There's a lion. You can't come in with a lion. Well, what's that thing? You got a is that an impala? No, it's a giraffe. You can't come over the. You got a lion and a giraffe and what's that? A gazelle? No, it's a zebra. Well, I don't care what they are. You can't come in with them. We're paying clients. Give us the brandies. We'll pay you. Well, all right. But any trouble, and you get out. All right, fair enough." So they down their brandy and they have another one. And the guy says, I think a Southern Comfort all round actually for my guys. So four large Southern Comforts, please. And the landlord said, "Well, one for the tiger." Then no, he's a lion. All right then. One for the kudu. The giraffe. All right. One for the impala. It's a zebra. All right. I'm no good with animals. There's your drinks. Come on, just drink up. Pay up. Come on. And this goes on for the whole evening, and eventually the giraffe gets a bit wafty, sort of sways, and boom, collapses flat out on the floor. And the guy doesn't notice, and the landlord says, "Here, he's fallen out. Doesn't matter. We'll only have 3 drinks now. He's fallen out. Doesn't matter." And so they have another whiskey to finish off with. And then they start to leave, and the guy goes, he gets the lion, he gets the zebra, and off they walk. And the barman says, Here, you can't leave that lion there. He says, "It's not a lion, it's a bloody giraffe. Will you not learn, you big twat?"
I suppose it's polite to laugh, isn't it?
Please laugh. Please, it makes me happy.
Okay, I've got a joke.
Go on then. Yeah.
It's a variation on an Australian joke.
Okay.
Right. A lion, a cheetah, and a hippo walk into a bar in South Africa. Pretty normal day, really.
When I was at college, someone said to me, "There's a stand-up night, open mic night, at a local pub. You should go in for it." And I did. I thought, I can tell the odd jokes, no problem at all. And I didn't prepare. I thought, I'll tell a couple of jokes, be fine. I went in and held the mic and went, and that lost me. You can't recover from an So I have immense respect for stand-up comedians. They're worth their money.
Sounds like one of my anaesthetic lectures.
I don't know about you guys. I think we've learned lots tonight, and we deserve a certificate.
What do you think, Martin?
Fantastic. Yes, I want a certificate.
You want
to do
lovely.
Here we go.
It's your CPD certificate.
There we go. CPD certificate. This says Certificate of More Knowledge. This certifies that yet more facts have been crammed into your cranium. So I put a bracket there because I wasn't sure the craniums should in fact be craniar, but there we go.
It's not cranii, is it?
Not cranii. Well, it could be cranii.
I'm not sure.
What's the singular of scampi?
Well, maybe scampi is the singular and scampi.
No, it's not. It's not. We always order scampi. It's scampo. Scampo is the singular.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Is that on your CPD certificate?
It's scampo. It's not on there. It's scampo. It's scampi. Anyway,
why isn't that on your seat? That's awesome. What a real fact.
I should put a
little scampi.
They're all real facts. Now, one thing we haven't had a chance to chat about, Martin, is your love of yachting. And so I put a little picture of a friend's yacht there. However, there's a picture of a cheetah, and this is a lion. There we go.
Really?
Top right corner there, it's a lion.
It just looks like a brown pile of fluff.
It does. So it's great. This is my favourite picture of a lion. This was London Zoo.
Was it and
they just put their brand new glass wall on the enclosure, and this lion was lying right up against the glass, and the static electricity, because it's perspex on the glass, pulled the mane right up and fluffed this lion's mane up like the Hair Bear bunch.
Excellent.
And I realised when I was getting a CPD certificate together earlier on today that I don't really have any pictures of teeth, but I did have this one here, which is a picture of a mountain or a rocky outcrop called Dent de Géant.
Mont Blanc.
It is absolutely just off Mont Blanc.
We've had some fabulous CPD, particularly from you, Martin, and we really appreciate that. But in order for it to qualify to proper CPD and to validate the certificate in the eyes of the RCVS quality committee or quality subcommittee or quality assurance subcommittee or the subcommittee of the RCVS, we have to reflect on the CPD that we have received. So Martin, could I ask you to join with Julian and I whilst we reflect on the CPD that we've received this evening?
And do we sort of do this?
You've got to do that. You've got to do that. Yeah, you've got to put your
silent reflection.
Hands sort of
silent reflection, please.
Sagaciously under your chin. I'm often reminded when I do this this reflection that I must paint that wall. There's a bit of a patch there. Martin, thank you so much.
No worries.
So much. It's your birthday. It's your birthday, and we've had you talking for a couple of hours.
Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. You're wonderful, chaps.
And at this point, if I could say, Martin Brice, thank you very much indeed. Happy birthday. And if any of you have enjoyed listening or watching the show, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be told of the next or upcoming episodes. And follow us, click like and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, iTunes. Is that it, Julian?
YouTube.
Yeah, I said that one.
Did you? That's it. Google, podcasts. I think that's it. I think you've covered everything.
Yeah. Click, like, share it with a friend.
Just watch it wherever you can and like it.
Yeah, or listen. And if anybody knows anybody in Antarctica, because that's the only continent that we're not listening to, that don't listen. Can you believe that? Antarctica, with all those penguins and all that wildlife.
They must be watching us. They must be.
They must be, but they're not.
They're just not getting in touch with us.
They're not getting in touch, and they're not showing up on our ratings. So if anybody knows anybody who's actually in Antarctica, give them a nudge and tell them to have a listen or a watch to Veterinary Ramblings.
Tell them to stay inside. They may be some while.
Indeed.
I think if one of us gets you a guest from Antarctica, I think we should be invited back for a second go. How's that?
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to your second appearance on Veterinary Ramblings.
Absolutely.
Martin Brice, thank you very much indeed. May your dog go with you.
May your dog go with you.
Thank you very much. Martin, thank you so much. I can't believe you've given up your birthday night to be with us two idiots.
Honestly, this is above and beyond. It really is. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yes, I have. Thank you. I have relaxed and yes, I have.
You have? Good.
Thanks. It's been lovely meeting you.
Thank you very much for inviting me.